It illumes a world born from the inconscience, but hides the immortal's meaning in the world. Thy mind's light hides from thee the eternal's thought. Thy heart's hopes hide from thee the eternal's will. Earth's joys shut from thee the immortal's bliss.
Oh, wonderful. So first, the word illume.
Hmm.
It's a very poetic use of a word, and it means to illuminate, to make
Mhm.
brighter. It can also mean to enlighten the mind, but I don't believe that is possible that we could add that to it because it illumines a world born from the unconscious. So
Hmm.
it makes it lighter, and that's, I think, the illuminate is a better word. Illuminates. Now
Hmm.
the conscience. Sri Aurobindo has much to say on this, and we need to spend a little time on it. In the Life Divine, he says the inconscience is an inverse reproduction of the supreme superconscious. It has the same absoluteness of being and automatic action, but in a vast, involved trance. It is being lost in itself, plunged in its own abyss of infinity. What a powerful statement.
Mhm.
Then he says again, and it's a little bit long, but we should listen to it from the Life Divine. All aspects of the omnipresent reality have their fundamental truth in the supreme existence. Thus, even the aspect or power of inconscience, which seems to be an opposite, a negation of the eternal reality, yet corresponds to a truth held in itself by the self aware and all conscious infinite. It is, when we look closely at it, the infinite's power of plunging the consciousness into a trance of self involution, a self oblivion of the spirit, veiled in its own abysses, where nothing is manifest, very important, but all inconceivably is and can emerge from that ineffable latency. In the heights of spirit, this state of cosmic or infinite trance sleep appears to our cognition as a luminous, uttermost superconscience. At the other end of being, it offers itself to cognition as the spirit's potency of presenting to itself the opposite of its own truths of being, an abyss of non existence, a profound night of inconscience, a fathomless swoon of insensibility, from which yet all forms of being, consciousness, and delight of existence can manifest themselves. But they appear in limited terms, in slowly emerging and increasing self formulations, even in contrary terms of themselves. It is the play of a secret all being, all delight, all knowledge, and each of these words is hyphenated, but it observes the rules of its own self oblivion, self opposition, self limitation, until it is ready to surpass it. This is the inconscience and ignorance that we see at work in the material universe. And this last line is so important. It is not a denial. It is one term, one formula of the infinite and eternal existence. So we see that these things are not negatives.
Hmm.
Although in would seem to us to mean not conscient,
Yeah.
but it is not negative in that sense. It is just buried underneath the other end of superconscience.
Hmm.
So then in Letters on Yoga, the last thing he says, once consciousnesses separated from the one consciousness, they fell inevitably into ignorance. And the last result of ignorance was inconscience.
Hmm.
So, as everything is the divine, we can't say that this is anything negative.
Hmm.
It is still an aspect of the divine
Hmm. Hmm.
because he says the divine is everywhere. And where the divine is, there is light.
Hmm.
So, but hides the immortal's meaning in the world. Of course, it does hide it. And the immortal here is the one who is everlasting, perpetual, not subject to death or decay. And then he tells us a little bit more. You can read ahead now. How much did we do? To bliss,
Yeah, till bliss.
thy mind's light hides from thee the eternal's thought. Sri Aurobindo says the eternal is that which is cannot perish. It can only lose itself. Again, that idea of the eternal losing itself.
Mm-hmm.
All is eternal in the eternal spirit. That's from his essays on philosophy and yoga. And then in the Life Divine, this very brief statement that's so important to us. Each is the whole eternal concealed. And in the Life Divine, he says, the eternal is our refuge. All the rest are false values, the ignorance and its mazes, the self bewilderment of the soul in phenomenal nature. The eternal is our refuge. Each is the whole eternal concealed. How beautiful.
I think we did go through this line, each in the whole eternal concealed before as well. Once when we were reading, I think we went through this definition.
I'm not quite hearing you clearly. I'll raise my volume and see if I can hear you better.
I was
What?
saying I think we did hear, we did go through this explanation, I think, once before, each in the whole eternal concealed.
And the secret is that we're going to have to go through it many, many, many more times
Yeah.
until these terms of Sri Aurobindo are so complete in our consciousness, not in our mind, but we have to go through again and again because he uses them again and again throughout
Okay.
Savitri, capitalizing all of these things. And
Yeah.
that's why in my Sunday Savitri class, when I told the people that I was going to go in a little different direction, they were very grateful. And one even wrote to me and they thanked me. They said, because it's not truly what I have to give, it's what Sri Aurobindo has to give to us. And that's why we read Savitri.
Yeah.
And then he says, thy heart's hopes hide from thee the eternal's will, and earth's joys shut from thee the immortal's bliss. Well, I think we can agree to all of that. It's a little difficult to understand why the heart's hopes hide from the eternal's will. Maybe because our aspiration is not deep enough
Yeah.
or not wide enough.
Yeah.
Certainly earth's joys shut us from the immortal's bliss. Thence, you have to begin with thence rose, an interesting word.
And also with this, thy heart's hope hide from thee the eternal's will. I was thinking that, many a times um, our desires might be very temporary, or we do not see the bigger picture. So
Mhm.
the eternal's will for us might be much greater than what I desire for in a particular moment.
Good for you, yes, but the word here is thy heart's hopes.
Yeah, so what I was saying was that what my heart is hoping, uh, my thy heart's hopes hide from thee the eternal's will. Like my heart's hope might be temporary, but eternal's will is much greater, a blessing for me, or willing a greater good for me than what is temporary, which I'm thinking is good for me right now.
Yes, very true. Very true.
Yeah. Thence rose the need of a dark, intruding God.
Did I hear that again?
Thence rose the need of a dark, intruding God.
Yeah, the word
The
is thence. Thence.
thence, thence,
Thence. With a
thence,
s at the end.
thence,
Thence.
thence,
Good.
thence rose the need of a dark, intruding God, the world's dread teacher, the creator, pain. Where ignorance is, there suffering too must come. Thy grief is a cry of darkness to the light. Pain was the firstborn of the inconscience, which was thy body's dumb original base. Already slept there pain's subconscious shape, a shadow in a shadowy tenebrous womb. Till life shall move, it waits to wake and be.
Well, we have a lot to cover here, don't we? Well, he really is telling us what happens when thence is from that time, from that place. Here it's from that what rose? Well, the need of a dark, intruding God rose. And that God, of course, is pain. And thence, from that time, or thenceforth is another word,
Hmm.
this is what happens. So it's telling us that, or therefore. So thence is a very poetic word. So I would say from that time is a good definition. Thenceforth is a good definition.
Hmm.
The need of a dark, intruding God, the world's dread teacher, the creator, pain. Oh. And I think we all know a bit about pain.
Hmm.
Where ignorance is, there suffering too must come. And that hit me very hard because I have suffered much in my life.
Hmm.
Sri Aurobindo says, where ignorance is, there suffering too must come. So if I wasn't ignorant, I would understand the meaning of death, the meaning of illness, the meaning of suffering.
Hmm.
So in the Life Divine, Sri Aurobindo has some quotes that are very important to read on ignorance.
Okay.
Ignorance is the absence of the divine eye of perception, which gives us the sight of the supramental truth. It is the non-perceiving principle in our consciousness as opposed to the truth perceiving conscious vision and knowledge. And then he says, ignorance is the consciousness of being in the successions of time, divided in its knowledge by dwelling in the moment, divided in its conception of self-being by dwelling in the divisions of space and the relations of circumstance, self-prisoned in the multiple working of the unity. It is called the ignorance because it has put behind it the knowledge of unity, and by that very fact is unable to know truly or completely either itself or the world, either the transcendent or the universal reality. Now, an interesting thing here is I was looking the other day on YouTube at Thich Nhat Hanh.
Huh.
You know of him. You've
Yeah,
heard.
I know him. Yeah.
And he says we should dwell in the moment always.
Mm.
Now, Sri Aurobindo counters that. He says, ignorance is the consciousness of being in the successions of time, divided in its knowledge by dwelling in the moment. Ah, interesting. Huh?
Mm.
Interesting. He says in essays and in philosophy and yoga, this world is not really created by a blind force of nature. Even in the inconscient, the presence of the supreme truth is at work.
Mm.
There is a seeing power behind it, which acts infallibly. And the steps of the ignorance itself are guided even when they seem to stumble. For what we call the ignorance is a cloaked knowledge, a knowledge at work in a body not its own, but moving towards its own supreme self-discovery. That is just, doesn't it just inspire us so much?
Mm.
The world is not really created by a blind force of nature. Even in the inconscient, the presence of the supreme truth is at work. There is a seeing power behind it, which acts infallibly, and the steps of the ignorance itself are guided even when they seem to stumble.
Mm.
For what we call the ignorance is a cloaked knowledge, covered knowledge, a knowledge at work in a body not its own, but moving towards its own supreme self-discovery. So we see that in us, this knowledge with the capital K is at work in a body, in our body, which is not its own body,
Mm.
but our bodies are moving towards its own supreme self-discovery. Now, in the Life Divine, there's one short quote that's also very important. Knowledge is no doubt the knowledge of the One, the realization of the being. Ignorance is a self-oblivion of being, the experience of separateness in the multiplicity, and a dwelling or circling in the ill-understood maze of becomings. And for us, this is very important that ignorance is the experience of separateness in the multiplicity.
Mm.
Sri Aurobindo said, I don't want thousands and thousands of followers. I want only 100 pure men.
Mm.
And he could do it. So what we have to do, what our work now is feeling the oneness, and the unity in the collectivity.
Yeah.
Despite all the darkness we see around us, there is that oneness. And it's growing much faster than it normally could have, because it brought the supermental down to earth. It's actually in all of us. Prema, we can't breathe without breathing the supermental force.
Wow.
It's in every atom of the earth, every molecule. Thy grief is a cry of darkness to the light. And of course, this I'd always love to share with you. Light is primarily a spiritual manifestation of the divine reality, illuminative and creative. Material light is a subsequent representation or conversion of it into matter for the purposes of the material energy. What a statement. It's the spiritual manifestation of the divine reality. This is what light is. But material light, imagine material light on earth, is a subsequent representation or conversion of this spiritual manifestation of light into matter for the purposes of the material energy. And then this is so beautiful. Our sense, I think I've read it to you once before, or quoted it to you actually. Our sense, its incapacity, has invented darkness. In truth, there is nothing but light. Only it is a power of light, either above or below our poor human vision's limited range. For do not imagine that light is created by the suns. The suns are only physical concentrations of light. But the splendor they concentrate for us is self-born, that very important hyphenated word, self-born and everywhere. And then he ends with, God is everywhere. And wherever God is, there is light. That's from the Hour of God. And then we have something from Mother. She says, light is a general term. Light is not knowledge, but the illumination that comes from above and liberates the being from obscurity and darkness. And then Mother told my very close friend, Dimitri von Morenschild, she says, she wrote to him and he showed me her writing. The light is everywhere. The force is everywhere. And the world is so small. Maybe we could end there today.
Okay.
And you could read from the beginning. And then we'll remember where we were. The light is everywhere.
Yeah.
The force is everywhere. And the world is so small.
Should we go? I read until it waits to be to wake and be. So I read until there.
Yes, we could do that. See, we have pain was the firstborn of the inconscience. We had the inconscience, but We have, we've already discussed it, which was thy body's dumb
Yeah.
base. Dumb, of course, is always silent. Never, never the colloquial stupid. Never, ever in Savitri. It's always silent. Already slept there, pain's subconscious shape. The shadow in a shadowy, tenebrous womb. Till life shall move, it waits to wake and be. Tenebrous is dark and gloomy. Tenebrous womb, dark and gloomy. I'll go up to the top and you can begin.
Yeah.
It's not so many words, but okay.
Illumined world born from the inconscience, but hides the immortal's meaning in the world. Thy mind's light hides from thee the eternal's thought. Thy heart's hopes hide from thee the eternal's will. Earth's joys shut from thee the eternal's bliss.
No, the immortal's bliss.
The immortal's bliss. Earth's joys shut from thee the immortal's bliss. Thence rose the need of a dark, intruding God, a world's dread teacher, the creating. Where ignorance is, there suffering too must come.
No, where ignorance is, there suffering too must come.
Where ignorance is, there suffering too must come. Thy grief is a cry of darkness to the light. Pain was the firstborn of the inconscience, which was thy body's dumb original base. Already slept there pain's subconscious shape,
Yeah, but you had
a
to.
shadow.
Oh, I'm losing a lot of your words. It must be there where you are. But
Yeah.
you have a semicolon after base, so there's a slight pause, which was thy body's dumb original base. Already slept there, he's beginning with a new thought. And then he has a colon. Okay, so which was bodies? Take which was thy bodies.
Which was thy body's dumb original base? Already slept there pain's subconscious shape, a shadow in a shadowy, tenebrous womb. Till life shall move, it waits to wake and be.
Good. Now,
So here, after the colon, like where he's saying already slept there, pain's subconscious shape, the shape he's describing as the shadow in a shadowy, tenebrous womb.
No, he said what he's talking about is pain. Pain because it's
he's talking about the pain
in conscience. It was it was the original base of the body. And when the child is born,
but I'm asking is a shadow in a shadowy, tenebrous womb. Is that the pain's subconscious shape?
Yes.
After the colon,
yes, it is.
okay.
Oh yes, it is that.
And then the next line, till life shall move, it waits to be and to wake and be. So, does that mean that this shadowy, the shadow or the space subconscious, it is waiting to wake up and be?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
But it is still talking about pain.
Yeah.
Okay, so pain also waits to wake up and be.
Okay.
When the baby comes out of the womb, its first sound is a cry of pain.
Okay.
Almost always. Very few babies are born silently, and then someone's concerned about them.
Yeah.
So there is that. It's the firstborn
Yeah.
of the inconscient, and then it has to, and that is the dumb original base of the body. And pain is already sleeping there in a subconscious shape.
Mm.
And it's like a shadow in a shadowy womb, a tenebrous womb, dark and gloomy womb. So he speaks that this pain is like a shadow in a dark womb. And
Mm.
only when life moves, when someone is born, it waits to wake and be.
Yeah.
Got it now?
Yeah, I got it.
Wonderful. Namaste.
Thank you so much. Namaste.
It's very, very good today, no?
Yeah.
I just think it's so beautiful that we can go slowly reading all of Sri Aurobindo's, not all of his comments, because there's so
Yeah.
many, at least
Yeah.
some. Okay,
Thank you
bye.
so much.